Tell me that neighborhood.
Yes, yes, I did.
Source. HDMI.
Thank you very much. I thought she was trying to say so.
You'll have to do it from your laptop.
Already slideshow up.
And it's not showing. Oh, it's doing something. Looks like it may have a poor connection.
Did you see a slide of the map?
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay, we're going to begin. Thank you all for coming so much. This map is a culmination of endless hours of conversation and research, and we are delighted to be here to launch it today. One of the most common questions we got after the book came out was, are you going to create a map? And a lady at one of the presentations said, my husband said to tell y'all that you need to make a map because people were reading about places that they didn't fully know where those places were at. And we had talked about it when we were writing the book, but we knew the map we wanted couldn't fit on a 2-page spread. And we did not have the time, the wherewithal, or the mental capacity to work on this map while we were working on the book. So we just knew it'd be something we would do later. I'm totally delighted. I am a map addict. I need help. And I suspect there might be a few others here in the room. If you are, let's get together and talk after the program. But we are delighted that you're here. Before we get started, I've got a few folks to thank. Just like when we produced the book, and the entire cost of the book was provided by people in the community and or professionals with services that they gave to us and we didn't have to purchase. So just like the book, the same thing has happened again for the map. And so we had a couple and 3 businesses that contributed all we needed for the production and the printing of the map. So once again, we are ecstatic. Every penny of your purchase will go to the Seymour Library because there was no cost to us for producing it. Now, I believe only one of the sponsors are here tonight, but I'm going to tell you who they all are. The first sponsor, and literally was the first sponsor, are Bob and Lynn Davis. Stand up. They have been true friends of Seymour Library for a long, long time. And when I first threw the idea out at Bob, he just said, I'd love to help, and did within 5 minutes. So thank you so much, Bob and Lynn. The three others are businesses, and they are Mountain View Chiropractic and Massage. I know some of you probably are patients of theirs. The Shops of Boyds Creek, which includes the local eatery on Boyds Creek Road, but it's owned by, all those businesses are owned by the same people. And Teresa Luttrell, who is a realtor with RE/MAX Preferred Properties. I know many of you probably know Teresa. So between the four of these gifts, we had enough to cover the entire cost of the map. And if you know any of the three, and Bob and Lynn, of course, please thank them. And if you can do business with them, all the better. So we give thanks. I can't applaud, but let's have a round of applause. Chuck Cook, who all of you know, is incredibly instrumental with so many things that go on at Friends of Seymour Library. He's irreplaceable. Chuck was very involved in the raising of the funds for the printing and production of the map. So Chuck, thank you very, very much. Deanne Topping, who many of you know, she designed the book, both the cover and the inside of the book, and of course just did a magnificent job. She is the designer of this map. And if you don't know Deanne, she is as fine as they come, a person. She is so fun to work with. She is so creative. And I struggle, people say, well, who did the map? And Deanne and I had different roles on the map, but I finally got comfortable saying, oh, Deanne and I did the map. She's the one that made it pretty, and I'm the one that worked on the contents of the map. So Deanne, thank you so much. Part of the money raised went to pay Deanne, but it paid her a much less than market value for her services. So Deanne does wonderful work. If you guys need a professional artist, go to her website, buy things from her, commission her to do things for you. Thank you, Deanne. Thank you, thank you. And then every draft that came from Deanne, Anna and Colleen combed it along with me, and we met and we talked about it, and well, how about this color? You think it needs to be a little darker? You think it needs this and that and the other? Are things placed in the right place? Do we have the right dates on them? So Anna and Colleen were very instrumental in the editing process. So thanks to all of those folks. Let's get started. Some of you may have heard me say that the map we've created is based upon the first ever USGS map for this area. USGS came into existence in 1879. This map was surveyed in 1884, 85, and 1890. So it is the first map of this area. When you get your map and you look up close, you'll see that the banner the eagle is holding, the map is dated 1884 to 1890. And that's because we don't know. I'll show you the map it came from in just a moment. And it covers a larger territory than any USGS map I've ever seen. So we don't know, which little road was surveyed in which of those 3 years. And so we just put all those dates on there because the entire survey took place in that time. So we like to think of this as a snapshot of what our area looked like in 1890. I'm going to show you this for you map people. You can't see this, I know, but this is a composite of several different quads condensed into one map, and the smallest map, USGS map I have ever seen. It is packed full of information. It just occurred to me today that it will fit in my frame. And I want to tell you what area it covers. The cluster up here in the left corner is Knoxville, and it goes through East Knox County, Northern Sevier County, and a corner of Jefferson County over here. Going south from Knoxville, not even halfway down is Maryville, and at the very bottom is Kate's Cove and Gregory's Ball. So this covers a ton of territory. I have just cherished this map. I never slept with it, but I've come really close to it. This map I found this in a used book and document store in Rogersville, Tennessee. And it was in a packet of 25 maps. This was the only above ground map, and the other 24 were geological structures of what's under the ground. And so it was clearly intended for the people going into the field with USGS to use it. And I guess that's one reason they covered a much bigger area. So in USGS terminology, it's called Tennessee, North Carolina, Knoxville sheet. But we came up with the name of this map. Obviously, they didn't name a sheet like that, Boyds Creek and Trundle Crossroads. But those were the two communities prominent in the area. At that time, the word Seymour had never been thought of in this area. And so both of those and the community of Cusick are the only communities on that map labeled within the territory of our book. And a few people that have seen it said, I've never heard of Cusick. It's right where the Y Road leaves Chapman Highway. And there was a Cusick family that lived there. We never got to the bottom of it. That beautiful house that sits there where Shiloh Road comes out before you get to the Y. I have been at their door 3 times. I have knocked. I have tried to meet these people to see, when was your house built and was it built by a Cusick? But I never got through. So that house is not on the map. We'll talk about houses more in a little bit. Also, on the map, they labeled Trundle Crossroads, no S, and Boyd Creek, no S. We're so used to saying Boyds Creek and writing Boyds Creek in the book that it was the night before this went to the printer that we noticed on the map it has no S after Boyd, and we had put an S. We had a little email exchange and we said, send it on. Send it on. So anyway, that just to give you a little more information about the source map. I have a ton of questions about this original map. I've been in a 2-month email exchange with a cartographer and a geographer at USGS. And they just can't tell me a lot about what was the standard back then when they created it in 1890. The geographer told me that they constantly are amazed when they look at the first maps and they don't know how they got them done so meticulously. They were hand-drawn and then hand-drawn again on the printing medium so that they could be reproduced. And when you look at this map, if you think you could have done a better job hand-drawing this map, I'll refer you for employment at USGS. So let's see, anything else that I want to say on this slide? This is our key, of course. And you're going to find churches, schools, post offices, homes that were pre-1890, because we wanted nothing that was post-1890 on here, because we wanted to look like it looked in 1890. Cemeteries, ferries, and so forth. So anyway, let's move on. This is the entire map, and there are couple of three things I want to point out to you. The Knox County line has shifted. So somebody's going to look at this map and say, oh, you got Knox County line in the wrong place. But in 1890, the county line came across the top of Bays Mountain just like it does today. But if hit the French Broad, it turned due north, and this is Kelly Bend. This is where the Seven Islands State Park is today. So the bulk of the state park would be in Sevier County if the county line had not changed. I don't know the date when it changed, but it remained the same right here. And when it hit the river, it followed the river along to the McCleary Bend of the river. These are the Cane Islands, and it went north from there. So some politician, for some reason, wanted this in Knox County, and they got.
It happened in the 1890s because the people that owned that property couldn't get to Sevier County without crossing the river.
Okay. So the change happened then shortly after this map was produced. Okay, good information. I also wanted to point out there are community names on this map, and we left them exactly the way they were on the original map, with the exception of 2 that we added, and it's for good cause. This is Chandler Gap. If you have read the book, you know that's the center of the Black community in Boyds Creek. That's land that was given by the Chandlers to the formerly enslaved people. And that land was divided, and lots of African-American folks moved up into that area. It's kind of up in the knobs. And because we have 3 chapters in our book about the Black history of the area, and because that is so vital to the history of Boyds Creek and Seymour, we wanted Chandler Gap to be on the map. So that would have never happened in 1890 under any circumstances. I was surprised one day. I was driving through there, just kind of scouting out some things. I don't remember what I was scouting out. And I had my GPS on because I wanted to, or Google Maps, because I just wanted to see where Google Maps told me I was. And I got to the top of the last knob before you go down, cross Boyds Creek, and come up by Boyds Creek Church of God. And my GPS told me I was in Chandler Gap. So I was floored. The second community we added was Seven Islands. And we did that. We don't talk about Seven Islands as much in the book as we did Chandler Gap. But Seven Islands, in my humble estimation, should be part of Sevier County. And it is so close to East Union Valley. Here's Porterfield Gap that goes up to Gap Creek and into Seven Islands. This is Ray's Gap Road that goes up. And there was lots of families that lived, family members in both places. So there was a lot of, there's a Methodist church on here, Seven Islands Methodist Church. And I'm confident that there were people at some time or the other from over in here, maybe in here, who went to church over there in Seven Islands. It's an easy little drive. It's a beautiful drive. If you have never been over there, you owe it to yourself to drive into Seven Islands. See that little church and stop and walk around. It has a cemetery that rolls down a hill to the French Broad River, and it's just a magnificent place. And the churchyard is open at all times, so you wouldn't be trespassing. So anyway, we've added 2 communities. You will also notice, and probably be surprised, that there are 2 creeks on here called First Knob Creek and Second Knob Creek. So in 1890, we had 2 Knob Creeks. Second Knob Creek became Happy Creek, and First Knob Creek became just Knob Creek. So that's not a mistake when you see it on the map. And we have put in parentheses today's name, and you'll see in the notes that you should have gotten with your map. If anybody bought a map and didn't get a set of notes, you need to go back and get the notes after we're finished. So that's another thing you will notice in there. I believe that's all I was going to show you on this slide. Okay, I had this slide actually to tell you, because the type could be bigger, but to tell you that we added Chandler Gap and Seven Islands. So I've already told you that, but you can see it more clearly labeled on this map. Now, the absolute most difficult thing about this map is that it doesn't have Chapman Highway on it. So that is our orientation point, right? Everything is either north of Chapman Highway or south of Chapman Highway on the Seymour end or the Seymour end. And it's not on there, and it has driven me crazy. But when we got to the point of labeling the roads, we made the decision. Of course, the roads weren't labeled on the original USGS, and probably most of them didn't have a name. And we made the decision that we're going to try our best to identify what road this line is, and this line, and so forth, and put its 2024 name on the map so that users can look at it and identify what road that we think that is. Now, the problem with that is that people are going to look at it if they don't have my notes, and they're going to look at it and say, you got this in the wrong place. And I learned that when about a month ago, I took a draft copy of the map into Hobby Lobby to the frame department to just say, I'm going to want this framed and just want to see what you got and start the conversation. And I laid it down on the counter in front of the guy that frames, and he looked at it less than 15 seconds, and he said, when was this map made? And I said, well, you know, it's a long story, but blah, 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 blah. And he said, oh, Knoxville Highway's in the wrong place. And so I got to educate him as to the fact that Old Knoxville Highway has changed its route. It's migrated west for a good bit of the road to look like we know it today. So anyway, the blue line is Chapman Highway. And I just couldn't bring myself to put a blue line on this old-fashioned map. So, but I'm going to show you. And I made a discovery one day that just delighted my heart. If you're a map addict, you're going to love this. I put on two different modern-day maps, I put a ruler down. One end at Shook's Gap and the other end at Cusick, where the Y road goes off of Chapman Highway. And every bit of Chapman Highway looked like it was just sitting on the edge of that ruler. Now, it had some little wavy places that I can draw in my photo program, but it absolutely looked like it was sitting on top of the ruler. So that delighted me, and here's what I did for you. When we were labeling US 411 and Boyds Creek Highway, the big major intersection, we moved the labels as close to each other as we could, so the user of the map would know that Chapman Highway went right through there, or goes right through there today. So that red light would be right here. These would have otherwise been kind of moved up or moved down, but I wanted you to see the very gap where Chapman Highway would be if it were on this map. The same with North Rogers and Titsworth Spring. We put those on the map, same thing, so that that line representing Chapman Highway would go right between them. So I wish I could do the same for the rest of the map. I haven't pondered the rest of it very much. You will see that from the Y, there are two roads that go out, they come back together. Sevierville's just right over here. Wouldn't surprise me if some of that route, now they were old wagon roads. It wouldn't surprise me if some of those road beds were incorporated into Chapman Highway. I have no idea, but the way things go, that is certainly possible. So when you're using the map, have a ruler nearby, and you can lay Chapman Highway down there and get your bearings. I'm going to give you 3 examples of how routes have migrated. And one of them is right here by the Y road. This is labeled North Knob Creek on the map, and you see it goes up here and it goes across Chapman Highway, and it meets North Rogers Road. Well, we all know North Knob Creek does not do that today. So in my comparison of this map to modern day road maps, what it looks like happened is that somewhere along in here, and it may even be up to here, is where North Knob Creek takes that sharp left. Now, North Knob Creek is a lot curvier than Chapman Highway, so it is definitely not on this straight line, but the straight line represents it. And so this curve came into existence and goes up and meets US 411 just off of Chapman Highway. So even though the road here is labeled North Knob Creek, this is not North Knob Creek. But I discovered something actually just a couple of weeks ago on a modern day map. If you look at where Knob Creek is now and the point at which it turns left, this is an empty space, there's no map on it, but right in line with North Knob Creek is Community Park Road. And it just begs the question, is that what remains of what we see right here? And then lo and behold, if you go across Chapman Highway, do you know where Lytton Drive is? Okay, I went snooping down in there a couple of times, and it dead ends at a beautiful farm that I think meets Boyds Creek. And I didn't have anybody to ask permission if I could go down there. So it almost looks like on the modern day map that this to the creek could be Lytton Drive, I believe they call it. And this would be the only piece that doesn't exist, and this would be the only piece that doesn't exist, if that theory is true. But it seems like more than a coincidence that they line up in that way. So just something to think about. Now, Donna, don't shoot me, okay? I think it's feasible that this angled road could be what today is Circle Road or Circle Drive, whatever it's called. And today, Knob Creek goes more directly down to the Y Road.
You're saying Knob Creek, you're saying Knob Creek Road?
Knob Creek Road, sorry, not the creek. So it could be that this should have been labeled Circle Drive, North Knob Creek, but Knob Creek is so different today than it was. That's what I can give you to make sense out of this if you're using the map and you know that area and it doesn't quite look right to you. It's not quite right compared to what it looks like today. Another road migration is in East Union Valley. In the book, we talk about, in the early roads section, we talk about a road that ran over the north flank of Possum Ridge. Now, we don't have the hills of Possum Ridge on this map, but Possum Ridge would be right along here. And when you go out East Union Valley Road today, you can't see into this part of East Union Valley because of Possum Ridge. At some point, I realized I had 3 maps that had a line right here, and I had gotten real familiar with this over here, and I knew that that was not the way East Union Valley ran. I knew that it met River Road right here, went right by the river. There's a 4-way stop there on Rays Gap Road, and it was driving me crazy. So I called Kent Atkins. I know a lot of folks know Kent, and he is a wealth of information, loves history, is a great fella to know and go plowing around with. And I said, Kent, can I bring 3 maps over to your house and let you look at them? Something is driving me crazy. There's a road on there that I want to call East Union Valley, but it doesn't match today's. And he said, yeah, bring it on over. So when I got there, he and his wife, Donna, must have been talking about it, because I showed him the first map, which is this one. He looked at it for 15 seconds and he turns to Don and he said, I knew it. I've known it all my life. And there was a road that went down the northern flank of Possum Ridge, but I've never been able to prove it. And so he took us and showed us pieces of the old roadbed that are still intact on the northern flank of Possum Ridge Road. So this is labeled East Union Valley, parenthesis, Possum Ridge. But this blue line is where East Union Valley goes today. So Kent and I both were so ecstatic that we thanked each other off and on all day. I'd say, Kent, I'm so happy. Thank you so much for solving this mystery for me. He said, no, thank you for solving it for me. I've been living with that my whole life. And I'd say Kent's maybe 50, I don't know. So anyway, that's the story of Possum Ridge, but that's just a typical way that road routes migrated over time as they started building better roads and making them straighter and putting them in more logical places. So that's my, these two together are my second example. This is Indian Warpath Road right here. This is the Bradson Ferry. With my blue mark gone, you would notice that there are no roads in here whatsoever. So Indian Warpath Road did not go past the road to that Bradson Ferry in 1890. It was later when it was built and goes around and comes in where it does today at the intersection of McCleary Road and McCleary Bend Road. The elementary school sits right there. So no road there in 1890. I know somebody in that area is going to look at it and say, why did they leave off Indian Warpath Road? So anyway, this road is Old Red Lane, which some of you know, and it dead ends. It does not go through to this intersection today. But in 1890, that was the way to get from the Boyds Creek community down into both McCleary Bend and over into East Union Valley. So anything you look at and you think it doesn't sound right, ask me. And the last one that I'm going to show you, I picked one on the Seymour end, one in the middle, and one on the east end. And this is Old Knoxville Highway. And you'll see on your map that Old Knoxville Highway goes almost to the river, takes right here, and hugs the river going all the way into Sevierville. But today, and I believe this took place in 1900 when they first macadamized the old Knoxville-Sevierville Pike, I believe that's probably when they shifted Old Knoxville Highway over to the west. It's pretty close to the same up to Gist Creek. At Gist Creek, it starts heading gradually northwest, and in that space between the blue line and the river, today is the golf course, the wilderness resort, all of those kinds of things. And then this, when it takes another turn northwest, that is at the Swan Stables. And so at that point,
goes through the knobs there.
Goes through the knobs and leaves the river. So that was a total surprise to me when I first saw this map, and explained a lot of things. And I had the opportunity to go on the old Davis farm a few months ago. And this is where Sheriff Tom Davis, if you've read the book, he was the hero of the White Cat Bluebill saga. He's the man that put an end to it. This is his property, and today this is Davis Lane, and it stops right about here. It might possibly go over to here, but there's no road past that. Interestingly, where this road might have been is where the railroad track from Old Knoxville Highway, where Reed Schoolhouse Road comes in, during the building of Douglas Dam, there was a spur track that left there, went up here and crossed the Pigeon River and on out to Douglas Dam, carrying lots and lots of supplies. It was the most lucrative period in the history of the Knoxville-Sevierville Railroad. So I don't know, the guy that was walking me around doesn't know, but it's a perfect roadbed that is up above the river level, very close to the river, but up above it, and then just on the road side of it, another bank goes up steep, and Sheriff Davis's house is up there well above the river. So it looks like it could have been the old roadbed, made infinitely smoother, and became the track for the spur railroad to Douglas Dam. I don't know that as a fact, but it's in exactly the same place where this road went. So that's Old Knoxville Highway. Now it comes out right across from the end of McCroskey Island. If you take a right, immediately you have to take a left on McCroskey Island Boulevard, I think they call it. And it goes out to the water treatment plant there on McCroskey Island. So these are 3 examples of what you're going to find a lot of on this map. A few of them will be explained by the notes that you have, but the others you're just going to have to kind of call me. And I have created a way for you to do that. It's my last slide. I have started a chapter today of Mappers Anonymous. It's the Seymour and Boyds Creek chapter. If you are a map addict and there's anything on this map that drives you crazy because it just doesn't feel right, here's my phone number and my email address. And I totally mean I want you to call me. I'm so invested in this map. If you've got questions about it, I want to talk through them with you. If I explain to you why I put a label on a road and you sort of see it differently, I want to know that. I want to entertain that idea. And if I'm wrong, I don't mind admitting I'm wrong, but I'm here for you map addicts. If you should awake at 3 a.m. and you're sweating, and you can't get the map off your mind, I make house calls 24 hours a day. I'll come over, I'll talk you down, we'll look at the map, we'll get it all figured out. If your wife or husband are about to divorce you because you're spending too much time with the map, give me a call, we can work through it. And I am dead serious. I want to know, if you are reading this map and you have a question, give me a call and we'll work it out. That's my last slide. Again, thank you for coming. I will entertain questions if there are any. Yes, Rick.
Does the USGS map that's down there, does it say slate knobs on it?
It does, I believe. Isn't that what we put here?
Yeah.
I think it does. I know the modern day USGS maps call it the slate knobs. Well, I don't see it, Rich. I don't have my glasses on, but I don't see it.
Does it have another name?
No, not on here. It's, of course, they've got the elevation contours.
Yeah, on that map. Yeah.
On this map, they have elevation contours. But I don't see slate knobs without my glasses. So that may be something we added, because I don't know about the folks in Seymour, but all the folks along Boyds Creek that we would talk to, they would just nod over to the knobs, and they'd go up in the knobs. They lived up the knobs. Well, he did this up in the knobs, up in the knobs, up in the knobs is just the common reference. And I have a 1970s surveyed USGS map that calls them the slate knobs, both on this side of Chapman Highway and on the opposite side of Chapman Highway where Pleasant Hill and White School and Goose Gap and all of those roads back in there are. So we must have added that ridge.
It's the slate where I've not heard that before.
You have not heard it before?
The slate
Okay.
part.
Well, I never heard a soul in Boyds Creek refer to it as the slate knobs. It's just the knobs, up the knobs, up the knobs. But I knew that my 1970s USGS map called them the slate knobs. So I guess I must have just chosen to use USGS terminology that was not on that map for all the people that refer to the knobs in Boyds Creek. So, any other questions?
Just there's a creek, it was, yes, Creek, and it's renamed, can you expand on that renaming?
I can talk about that for hours. Yeah. Maybe at one of our meetings we can do that. I live on Gist Creek Road. And from the time I moved there in 1980, people that have lived in this county all their life would say, well, where do you live? And I'd say, out on Gist Creek. And they say, oh, I've never heard of it. And where's that at? And I'd say, we go down on Knoxville Highway, blah, 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 and you take a left and it goes all the way back through there. And they inevitably would say either, oh, you mean Justice Creek, or you mean Guess's Creek. So Guesss, because it belonged to someone they assumed was Mr. Guess, and so it was Guess's Creek. So imagine how I thought, I don't know what I thought, but that happened over and over again when we first moved there. So when I got this map, it is labeled Guess Creek, Guess. And so that, and I've seen other references back in much, much older times where, you know how when you're studying this kind of stuff, you'll see also known as guess, gist, you know, that, all that kind of thing. And I've seen it even earlier than this 1890 map. So it apparently has been misunderstood all these years. Now, I never knew who my road was named after until we started this research project. And a man named Joshua Gist was one of the earliest settlers of Sevier County, very, very involved in its early government. And then he had a son and a grandson that ended up owning a lot of land out Chapman Highway, where Gist Creek today crosses 3 times. So clearly it's named after that family, and they are Gist. So that's a fairly short answer, but yeah.
One comment for people that, I imagine some of you go to Knoxville, that today Shooks is not where it is way over there on the left.
Right.
It's moved up a little bit, so it's migrated a little water, it's way more like it.
Yeah. Bob and I don't know, Bob has been my buddy the entire time we were writing the book, and he just gave me tremendous help on particularly steamboats and some matters related to the French Broad River. But so we got to where we would send each other map tidbits that were not necessarily about Boyds Creek, Seymour, and we both had discovered at different times in history, Shooks went further west. On this map, the Shooks community was immediately across the county line.
Where Valley Grove Church is.
Yeah, right where Valley Grove Church is. But in the third of those 3 maps, it's labeled considerably further west, closer to Knoxville. So good point, Bob. Good point. All kinds of stuff like that. You want me to shut me up?
No, I know that everyone has a special question that you want to ask Steve, but I want to suggest that you enjoy the refreshments provided courtesy of the Friends of Seymour Library and take turns coming up to Steve with your particular question. If you also have bought a book from the Mouth of Boyds Creek, and and would like Anna, Steve, and me to sign it, we'll do that over here at the table. Now, you may say you're in.
I'm in, but there's one thing that's not map related that I wanted to make sure everybody in this room knows, because it's just such a phenomenal thing. If you haven't heard this, the book was published in September. We printed 600 copies, and we were nervous about it, thinking that they might go unsold. They were gone in 33 days. We have now sold right at 1,000. We have made $21,000 for Seymour Library. We just picked up our 4th order of 150 books because they're still selling. And the map is going to bring in another close to $5,000 when the 200 maps we printed are sold. So we are floored with those results. We are gratified by those results. And on top of it, we learned in May that we had earned 2 history awards, one from the Tennessee Historical Commission and one from the East Tennessee Historical Society. So we just want to share this. Okay, I've turned my microphone off and I'm having a cookie. I'll meet you addicts over the cookie.